Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at something that most people don't even think about, but is a huge part of the pharmaceutical and supplement industry.
That's right. We're going to be talking about halal and kosher empty capsules.
That's right, the capsules that hold all the medication and supplements that so many people take.
And it's a really interesting area because it's a big market that's growing rapidly.
Yeah, and I think it's something that a lot of people don't know a lot about, but it's becoming increasingly important as more and more people are looking for products that meet their specific religious dietary needs.
Exactly. And we're going to be using the Global Halal and Kosher Empty Capsules Market Report 2025 from Cognitive Market Research.
We've also got some interesting links to pharmaceutical organizations and things like that, but this report is going to be our main source of information.
Yeah, and it's a great report full of data and insights, and we're going to be breaking it all down for you.
So we're going to be talking about the market size, the growth trends, the geographical distribution, all that kind of stuff.
And we're also going to talk about why this market is growing and what the different types of halal and kosher empty capsules are.
Right, so if you're interested in learning more about this fascinating niche market, then you've come to the right place.
Let's dive in.
Okay, so let's start with the big picture. Just how big is this market?
Well, according to the report, the global market size for halal and kosher empty capsules is projected to be around 920 million US dollars in 2025.
Wow, that's almost $1 billion for something that most people probably don't even think twice about.
I know, it's pretty amazing, and that's just the beginning.
So where is this market headed?
Well, by 2033, the market is expected to reach 16.5 million US dollars.
So more than double in less than 10 years. That's a pretty significant growth rate.
It is the CAGR. The compound annual growth rate is projected to be 7.3% between 2025 and 2033.
Wow, that's impressive. What's driving that growth?
Well, the report points to a couple of key factors. One is the increasing demand for clean label products.
Clean label products, what exactly does that mean?
Well, in this context, it means that consumers are becoming more aware of what's in the products they're consuming, and they're looking for products that are made with natural ingredients, that are free from artificial additives and preservatives, and that are ethically sourced.
So it's about more than just the ingredients themselves. It's about the entire process from sourcing to manufacturing.
Exactly. And halal and kosher certifications play a big role in this because they provide consumers with a level of assurance that the products they're buying meet their specific religious dietary standards.
Right, so it's not just about following religious dietary laws. It's also about transparency and knowing where your products are coming from.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about the size of the market and what's driving its growth now. Let's take a look at the geographical distribution of this market. Where is the demand for halal and kosher empty capsules the strongest?
Well, right now, North America is the largest market, accounting for over 37% of the global market revenue.
That makes sense given the large Muslim and Jewish populations in North America.
Right. And the market size in North America in 2025 is estimated at 340.4 zillion US dollars.
And what kind of growth rate are we looking at in North America?
The CAGR is projected to be 5.8% from 2025 to 2033.
So a little bit slower than the global average, but still pretty healthy.
Yeah, and within North America, the United States is the dominant market.
Again, not surprising.
No, the U.S. market is expected to reach 268.58 million US dollars in 2025, and it's projected to grow at a CAGR of 5.6%.
So pretty much in line with the overall North American market.
Yeah, and the report highlights a couple of interesting factors driving the growth in the U.S. market. One is the increasing demand for plant-based supplements.
So it's not just people who are looking for halal or kosher products, it's also people who are looking for vegan or vegetarian options.
That's right. And the other factor is the increasing popularity of halal and kosher certified supplements among non-Muslim and non-Jewish consumers.
So it's kind of like the clean label trend we talked about earlier. People are just looking for products that they feel good about consuming. Okay, so what about other countries in North America?
Well, Canada is another big market for halal and kosher empty capsules. Their market size in 2025 is projected to be 40.85 million US dollars.
And what kind of growth rate are they looking at?
5.6%. So pretty much the same as the US.
And what's driving the growth in Canada?
Well, the report mentions a couple of things. One is the expansion of the nutraceutical and pharmaceutical industries in Canada, and the other is the supportive regulations in Canada for halal and kosher products.
So it sounds like Canada is a pretty favorable environment for this market.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be.
Okay, so we talked about the U.S. and Canada. What about Mexico?
Well, Mexico is a smaller market than the U.S. and Canada, but it's still growing at a pretty healthy rate.
What kind of numbers are we talking about?
The market size in Mexico in 2025 is projected to be 30.98 million US dollars,
Okay, and the growth rate?
6.3%.
So a little bit faster than the US and Canada.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of potential in the Mexican market.
Okay, so we've covered North America. What about Europe? What's the situation there?
Europe is another big market for halal and kosher empty capsules. They account for over 29% of the global market.
So a little bit smaller than North America, but still a significant share.
Yeah, and their market size in 2025 is estimated at 266.8 near million US dollars.
And what kind of growth rate are they looking at?
6.3%, so
Yeah.
pretty much the same as Mexico.
Okay, and what are some of the key factors driving the growth in Europe?
Well, the report mentions a few things. One is the growing Muslim and Jewish populations in Europe.
Right, that makes sense.
And another factor is the increasing preference for natural non-GMO and allergen-free products among European consumers.
So again, that clean label trend is playing a role.
Exactly. And another factor is the regulations in the European Union that are supportive of halal and kosher products.
So it sounds like there's a lot of support for this market in Europe, both from consumers and from regulators.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be a favorable environment.
Okay, so are there any particular countries in Europe that stand out in terms of their market size or growth rate?
Well, the UK is a good market. Their market size in 2025 is estimated at 44.82 million US dollars, and they're projected to grow at a CAGR of 7.1%.
Okay, so a pretty healthy growth rate.
Yeah, and Germany's another big market. They're slightly larger than the UK, with a market size of 52.83 million US dollars in 2025, and their TAGR is projected to be 6.5%.
Okay, and what's driving the growth in Germany?
Well, the report mentions a couple of things. One is the strong consumer preference for non-GMO, organic, and sustainably sourced capsules, and the other is the EU regulations that we talked about earlier.
So it sounds like German consumers are really paying attention to where their products are coming from and how they're made.
Yeah, it seems like they're very conscious of those things.
Okay, so we've talked about the UK and Germany. What about some of the other countries in Europe?
Well, France, Russia, Italy, and Spain are all significant markets as well.
What kind of market sizes are we talking about?
Well, France is estimated at 24.55 million US dollars in 2025. Russia is 41.35 million. Italy is 22.94 million, and Spain is 21.88 million.
Okay, and what kind of growth rates are they looking at?
Well, France is projected to grow at a CAGR of 5.5%. Russia is 5.3%. Italy is 5.7%. And Spain is 5.4%.
So all pretty steady growth rates.
Yeah, it seems like there's a consistent demand for halal and kosher empty capsules across Europe.
Okay, so we've covered North America and Europe now. Let's move on to Asia. What's the situation there?
Asia Pacific, or APAC, as it's often called, is a really interesting region because it's currently the smallest of the three major markets, but it's projected to grow the fastest.
Oh, wow. So what kind of numbers are we talking about?
Well, their market size in 2025 is estimated at 220.80 million US dollars.
So significantly smaller than North America and Europe.
Yeah, but their CAGR is projected to be 10% from 2025 to 2033.
Wow, that's a really impressive growth rate. So what's driving that growth?
Well, there are a few key factors. One is the large Muslim population in many APAC countries.
Right. That makes sense, given that halal products are in high demand in those countries.
Exactly. And another factor is the rapid growth of the pharmaceutical and nutraceutical industries in the region.
So they're producing more and more of these products, which means they need more and more empty capsules.
Exactly. And another factor is government initiatives in some APAC countries that are promoting halal products.
So it sounds like there's a lot of support for this market in Asia, both from the private sector and from the public sector.
Yeah, it's definitely a region to watch.
Okay, so are there any particular countries in APAC that stand out in terms of their market size or growth rate?
Well, China is a major market. Their market size in 2025 is projected to be 92.74 million US dollars.
Okay, so they're the biggest market in APAC.
Yeah, and their CAGR is projected to be 9.5%.
So a little bit slower than the overall APAC growth rate, but still very healthy.
Yeah, and what's interesting about China is that they're not just a consumer of halal and kosher empty capsules. They're also a major producer.
Oh, so they're exporting these capsules to other countries.
Exactly. They're a major player in the global market.
Okay, what about other countries in APAC?
Well, Japan and South Korea are both significant markets.
What kind of market sizes are we talking about?
Japan is projected to reach 30.47 million US dollars in 2025, and South Korea is 26.5 million.
Okay, and their growth rates?
Japan is projected to grow at a CAGR of 8.5%, and South Korea is 9.1%.
Okay, so both pretty solid growth rates.
Yeah, and what's interesting about South Korea is that they have a large Muslim population.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that's one of the factors driving the growth of the halal and kosher empty capsules market in South Korea.
Interesting. Okay, so we've talked about China, Japan, and South Korea. What about India?
India is another really interesting market because their current market size is relatively small, but they're projected to grow at a very fast rate.
Okay, so what kind of numbers are we talking about?
Well, their market size in 2025 is projected to be 22.08 million US dollars.
Okay, so smaller than China, Japan, and South Korea.
Yeah, but their CAGR is projected to be a whopping 11.9%.
Wow, that's huge. So
Ah,
what's driving that incredible growth rate?
well, a couple of things. One is the large Muslim population in India,
Right, of course.
and the other is the booming nutraceutical industry in India.
So people in India are becoming more and more interested in taking supplements for their health.
Exactly, and that's creating a huge demand for empty capsules, including halal and kosher certified capsules.
Interesting. Okay, so we've talked about China, Japan, South Korea, and India. What about some of the other countries in APAC?
Well, Australia, Singapore, Taiwan, and Southeast Asia as a whole are all showing strong growth prospects.
What kind of growth rates are we talking about?
Well, Australia is projected to grow at a KGR of 9.3%. Singapore is 10.3%, Taiwan is 9.8%, and Southeast Asia is 10.8%.
Wow, so all really healthy growth rates.
Yeah, it seems like the APAC region as a whole is poised for some serious growth in the halal and kosher empty capsules market.
It really does. Okay, so we've covered North America, Europe, and Asia. Now let's move on to the rest of the world. What's the situation in South America, the Middle East, and Africa?
Oh, South America is a relatively small market, but it's growing at a decent rate.
What kind of numbers are we talking about?
But their market size in 2025 is projected to be 34.96 million US dollars.
Okay, and their growth rate.
8%.
Okay, so not as fast as Asia, but still pretty respectable.
Yeah, and what's driving the growth in South America? Well, a couple of things. One is the increasing health consciousness among South American consumers.
So people are becoming more aware of the importance of taking care of their health.
Exactly. And the other factor is the rising consumption of supplements in South America.
So people are actually taking action to improve their health.
That's right.
Okay, so what about the Middle East?
Well, the Middle East is a really interesting market because it has a very high concentration of Muslim consumers.
Right, so you would expect the demand for halal products to be very high there.
Exactly. And that's definitely the case. The market size in the Middle East in 2025 is projected to be 36.8 million US dollars.
Okay, so a similar market size to South America.
Yeah, but their CAGR is a little bit higher at 8.6%.
Okay, so what's driving that growth?
Well, aside from the large Muslim population, the other factor is the regulations in many Middle Eastern countries that favor halal products.
So it's a very supportive environment for halal products. Okay, and what about Africa?
Well, Africa is the smallest of the regions we've discussed, but it's still a growing market.
What kind of numbers are we talking about?
Well, their market size in 2025 is projected to be 20.24 million US dollars,
Okay, and their growth rate?
7.6%.
Okay, so not as fast as some of the other regions, but still pretty good.
Yeah, and what's driving the growth in Africa? Well, a couple of things. One is the growing Muslim and Jewish populations in Africa.
Right, those are the two main consumer groups for halal and kosher products.
Exactly. And the other factor is the increasing awareness of health and wellness among African consumers.
So people are becoming more educated about how to take care of themselves.
That's right.
Okay, so we've talked about the global market for halal and kosher empty capsules, and we've seen that it's a big market that's growing rapidly now. Let's take a closer look at the market itself. What are the different types of halal and kosher empty capsules that are available?
Okay, well, the market is basically segmented into three main types of capsules: gelatin capsules, vegetarian capsules, and enteric capsules.
Okay, let's start with gelatin capsules. Those are probably the most common type, right?
Yeah, gelatin capsules are made from animal collagen.
And are they halal and kosher?
Well, it depends on the source of the collagen. If the collagen is sourced from halal or kosher animals, then the capsules will be halal or kosher.
Okay, so it's important to check the source of the gelatin.
Exactly. And gelatin capsules are the most popular type of capsule because they're relatively inexpensive to produce.
So they're the most cost-effective option.
Yeah. And they're also easy to work with.
Okay, so what about vegetarian capsules?
Well, vegetarian capsules are made from plant-based materials like HPMC or starch.
Okay, and are they always halal and kosher?
Well, they're certainly more likely to be halal and kosher than gelatin capsules, but it's still important to check the certification.
Okay, so even though they're plant-based, they still might not be halal or kosher?
That's right. It depends on the specific ingredients and the manufacturing process.
Okay, so what about enteric capsules?
Well, enteric capsules are a special type of capsule that's designed to dissolve in the intestine rather than the stomach.
Okay, and why would you want a capsule to do that?
Well, there are a few reasons. One is that some medications are irritating to the stomach.
So if you take an enteric capsule, the medication won't be released until it reaches the intestine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And another reason is that some medications are better absorbed in the intestine.
So an enteric capsule can help to improve the effectiveness of the medication.
That's right.
Okay, so are enteric capsules halal and kosher?
Well, again, it depends on the specific ingredients and the manufacturing process, but there are definitely halal and kosher certified enteric capsules available.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a halal and kosher option for pretty much any type of capsule you might need.
That's right.
Okay, so we've talked about the different types of halal and kosher empty capsules now. Let's talk about the industries that are using these capsules.
Okay, well, the two main industries that use halal and kosher empty capsules are the pharmaceutical industry and the nutraceutical industry.
Okay, let's start with the pharmaceutical industry. How are they using these capsules?
Well, pharmaceutical companies are using halal and kosher empty capsules to encapsulate a wide range of medications.
And why are they doing that?
Well, there are a few reasons. One is to meet the needs of Muslim and Jewish patients who want to make sure that the medications they're taking are halal or kosher.
Right, of course.
And another reason is to appeal to a wider range of consumers in general.
So even people who aren't Muslim or Jewish might be more likely to buy a medication if they know that it's halal or kosher certified.
Exactly. It's seen as a sign of quality and purity.
Okay, so what about the nutraceutical industry? How are they using halal and kosher empty capsules?
Well, the nutraceutical industry is using these capsules to encapsulate dietary supplements.
And what kind of supplements are we talking about?
Well, all kinds of supplements,
Yeah.
vitamins, minerals, herbs, probiotics, you name it.
Okay, and why are they using halal and kosher empty capsules?
Well, for the same reasons that pharmaceutical companies are using them to meet the needs of Muslim and Jewish consumers and to appeal to a wider range of consumers in general.
Okay, so it sounds like there's a lot of demand for halal and kosher empty capsules in both the pharmaceutical and nutraceutical industries?
That's right.
Okay, so we've talked about the market for halal and kosher empty capsules. We've looked at the different types of capsules that are available, and we've talked about the industries that are using these capsules now. Let's wrap things up by talking about the future of this market.
Okay, well, the report identifies a couple of key market drivers that are likely to continue to drive the growth of this market in the years to come.
Okay, what are those?
Well, one is the growing Muslim and Jewish populations around the world.
Right, of course, those are the two main consumer groups for halal and kosher products.
Exactly. And as those populations grow, the demand for halal and kosher certified products is going to continue to grow.
Okay, what's the other key market driver?
The other driver is the increasing preference for vegetarian and vegan lifestyles.
Right, more and more people are choosing to avoid animal products.
Exactly, and that's creating a growing demand for vegetarian capsules, which are often also halal and kosher.
So that's good news for the halal and kosher empty capsules market.
It is.
Okay, so those are the key market drivers. What about any challenges or restraints that might hinder the growth of this market?
Well, the report identifies a couple of potential restraints.
Okay, what are those?
Well, one is the higher cost of plant-based capsules compared to gelatin capsules.
Right, we talked about that earlier.
Yeah, and that could potentially limit the adoption of vegetarian capsules, especially in price-sensitive markets.
Okay, what's the other potential restraint?
The other restraint is the strict halal and kosher certification requirements.
Right, it can be challenging for manufacturers to meet those requirements.
It can be, and that can add to the cost of production.
So those are definitely challenges that the industry will need to overcome.
They are.
Okay, so we've talked about the market drivers and the potential restraints. What about any key trends that are shaping the future of this market?
Well, the report highlights a couple of key trends.
Okay, what are those?
Well, one is the development of more effective enteric coatings.
Right, we talked about enteric capsules earlier.
Yeah, and as those coatings become more effective, they're going to make enteric capsules more appealing to consumers.
Okay, what's the other key trend?
The other trend is the increasing use of online platforms to sell halal and kosher certified supplements.
Right, that makes sense. E-commerce is growing rapidly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's making it easier for consumers to find and buy halal and kosher products.
So that's another positive trend for the halal and kosher empty capsules market.
It is.
Okay, so we've talked about the market drivers, the potential restraints, and the key trends. Now, let's finish up by talking about the competitive landscape. Who are some of the key players in this market?
Well, the halal and kosher empty capsules market is a very competitive market with a lot of different players.
Okay, can you give us some examples?
Sure. Some of the key players include Lonza, ACG Qualicaps, Suho & Co., Ltd., Shaanxi Guangsheng, Capsule Limited, and Caps Canada.
Okay, and are those companies all focused specifically on halal and kosher empty capsules?
Well, some of them are, but most of them are larger companies that produce a wide range of capsules.
Okay, so they've just added halal and kosher capsules to their product line.
That's right.
Okay, so that's the competitive landscape. What about any recent developments in the market?
Well, the report highlights a couple of recent developments.
Okay, what are those?
Well, one is that Lonza has introduced an enhanced version of their HPMC capsules.
Okay, and what's so special about this enhanced version?
Well, it's supposed to be more stable, and it's also supposed to be more compliant with halal and kosher standards.
Okay, so that's a positive development for consumers who are looking for high-quality halal and kosher capsules.
It is.
Okay, what's the other recent
The
development?
other development is that QualiCaps has launched their QualiGN natural gelatin capsules.
Okay, and what's special about these capsules?
Well, they're designed to be clear, so consumers can see the contents of the capsule, and they also feature a self-locking mechanism that's supposed to improve product integrity.
Okay, so that's another positive development for consumers.
It is.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today. We've talked about the size of the halal and kosher empty capsules market, the growth trends, the geographical distribution, the different types of capsules, the industries that are using these capsules, the market drivers, the potential restraints, the
Fun.
key trends, the competitive landscape, and recent developments. That's a lot of information.
It is, but I think it's all really important information for anyone who's interested in this market.
I agree. So, what are some of the key takeaways for our listeners?
Well, I think the main takeaway is that the halal and kosher empty capsules market is a growing market with a lot of potential.
I agree. And another takeaway is that there are a lot of different factors driving that growth, including the growing Muslim and Jewish populations, the increasing preference for vegetarian and vegan lifestyles, and the rising health consciousness among consumers.
Right. And I think it's also important to note that there are some challenges that the industry will need to overcome, such as the higher cost of plant-based capsules and the strict halal and kosher certification requirements.
I agree. And I think it's also interesting to see how the industry is innovating to meet the needs of consumers with things like more effective enteric coatings and clear capsules with self-locking mechanisms.
Yeah, it's clear that this is an industry that's constantly evolving.
I agree. So, what's the final thought that you want to leave our listeners with?
Well, I think the final thought is that the halal and kosher empty capsules market is just one example of how the food and beverage industry is becoming more and more specialized.
I agree, and I think that trend is only going to continue as consumers become more aware of their own individual needs and preferences.
Exactly. And I think it's a good thing because it means that consumers have more choices and they can find products that really meet their needs.
I agree. So thanks for joining us today for this deep dive into the halal and kosher empty capsules market.
It was my pleasure.
And thanks to our listeners for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
See you then.
Bye.